Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 52nd Annual Community Celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We're going to start this fabulous morning with some fabulous song. man, DaNell, Daymon, and Greater Works. Woo! Can you get your blood pumping every single time? Oh man, thank you so much. That's just beautiful. And what a way to start this morning, the 52nd community celebration of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. It is so good to be here this morning. I'm Deedee Sun. I'm a morning anchor with Cairo 7 News. Thank you. Last time I was here, I was weekend anchor, and so I've been promoted since the last time I was here. It really is, though, such a privilege to be on your TVs every morning, 4:30 to 7 a.m., or on your apps. It is an honor to be telling the stories of the community and also to be capturing a little slice of history, no matter what's going on in our communities and throughout the greater Seattle area and in Western Washington. And it is such a true honor to be here, to be your MC this morning, and to celebrate this momentous day with you. A couple of words about this day. So first of all, we are here today to celebrate how far we've come and also to recognize how much work there still needs to happen, right? Yeah. And speaking of work, I also want to recognize all the folks behind the scenes who put so much love and work and more work into making this day happen. Let's give them a round of applause. So I have been reporting and telling the news here for 7.5 years, and now I'm about to become a first-time mom. Thank you. Baby girl is due in May, and my baby app tells me that the baby's developing ears right now, and so I hope she heard that. Yeah. And I hope she feels the energy in this room, because this room is full of people who want to make this world a better place. Teachers, students, community leaders, people in the community, we're all here today because we see a brighter future for tomorrow. And I hope the baby that I'm carrying can feel that energy, can feel that spirit, because the people in this room want to make this whole world a more joyous place and a better place. And I'm grateful to be here with all of you today for that. I'm really, really happy to be here celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with you. I do have a couple of programming notes. We have South Seattle College TV, SEC TV in the back right there, and so they're live streaming this whole entire program. You will be able to catch a replay of this program if you want to re-enjoy the speeches, the music. It's all going to be on seattlecolleges.edu. A couple other housekeeping items. In case of an emergency, there are exits highlighted in green to the back and also to the right and the left. The bathrooms are in the hallway to my left, and there's also 2 gender-neutral bathrooms as well in the back of the bookstore, behind the bookstore. And for those of you who have been with us, you know that for 49 years we have gathered at Mount Zion Baptist Church. It is a relationship that has become the hallmark for this special day, and our ties with Mount Zion remain strong. With us today, we have the Mount Zion Baptist Church Senior Pastor, the Reverend Dr. Phyllis Beaumonte. Hi, Dr. Phyllis. Who will provide a blessing and say a few words. And she will be followed by the land acknowledgement by DeAndre Fisher, Associate Vice Chancellor, as well as Alexis Burris, who is the Interim Director in Seattle College's Office of Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Community. Now, before we move on to the land acknowledgement, I want to take a moment to recognize DaNell Daymon for his 20th performance here, at this event. 20 years, it is incredible. He and his choir lift our souls. I think that's such a good way to put it. They lift our souls every time they turn on their voices, and they tear the roof off the house every single time with their performances. So we have put together a short video as well of some of the past performances, and we want to invite DaNell to the podium and say a few words. Go.
Good morning. Have you all spoken to the people at your table since you got here? Tell them a good morning. I'm happy to see you once again. Great. You know, there's a lot of things that I've been a part of in my life for short periods of time. This year, I actually turned a monumental age in my life of 50. I know you all are looking at me like, I know I look like I just graduated from high school. It's okay. But I said that to say, out of the 50 years of life, 20 of these years I've spent with you all. And I'm honored to say it's been a privilege to be a part of this momentous occasion every year. We've been doing it for various locations here, of course. I remember when we started out at Mount Zion, of course. And even when there was the pandemic, we still had it in a manner of social distancing when there was no one actually in the sanctuary. We were still committed to the cause. And I just feel like that's a relationship I want to keep going, to see your faces and to be able to offer life. It means so much to be able to speak life to your child that's developing ears right now. I tell the choir all the time, what's from the heart always reaches the heart. And the ministry's vision is to communicate God's love through song and presentation. And so we do this from a genuine place. And this event is very near and dear to me. Dr. Samuel McKinney was very special to me. He was a father figure in the manner of just in the community. And I got a chance to work with him during the Black Nativity with, the late Patronelle Wright. And, I just feel like I'm a part of history and keeping the legacy going on. Right near the end of every performance for many years, he would be the one that would lead, "We Shall Overcome." And, it's just a situation where I just feel like I'm going to do my very best with our ministry to keep the legacy going as long as you would have us. I don't know if it's going to be another 20 years, but if it's another 20 years, then it's just another 20 years. Is that all right? And so I would like to say thank you to the Seattle colleges. Thank you to the staff that's always been consistent with me and myself and in the ministry. I've been working with some of them, Brother Ernest and Ms. Paulette, wherever she is. Thank you so very much. And I don't want to get into name calling because then I'll forget, and the pressure is like, don't forget. On this side is hurry up. So I just want to thank you, if that makes sense. So thank you so much for having us. And, I say this at the end of every performance. Well, if the Lord doesn't delay his coming, well, we'll see you next year after this event. But for the rest of this event, enjoy the speakers that are going to come forth, enjoy the music that's going to go forth, and let's just make this event greater than the last one. Is that all right? Thank you so much.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. Facing the rising sun, victory is won. Stony the roads we trod, bitter the testing rods, felt in the days when home unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father signed. We have come over the ways that the tears has been watered. Treading the path through the blood of the out from the gloomy past, tonight we stand with the white gleam of the bright stars is cast. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new kingdom. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory. Let us march on. Let us march till victory. Yeah. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you. Good afternoon. It's really an honor for me to stand before you and bring you greetings on behalf of a congregation of the historical Mount Zion Baptist Church in Seattle. As many of you know, the late Reverend Dr. Samuel B. McKinney, the former pastor of the church, was a classmate and friend of Dr. King. And it was through his friendship that Dr. King made his one and only visit to Seattle in 1961. These two men had two things in common. They believed in education as a way out of poverty and ignorance, and they were African American Baptist preachers. Most people remember Dr. King for his vision for a better America, exemplified in his "I Have a Dream" speech. But we should also remember that throughout his nonviolent, countercultural movement, as an instrument of transformation amidst all kinds of ideological conflict, he was a minister of the gospel. He interpreted Jesus' life and ministry within a social context and confronted the social injustices of racism, both institutional and personal bigotry. His entire life was a testament to nonviolence and justice and equality for all. His life was given for that. He believed in a beloved community where men and women, boys and girls, regardless of race or ethnicity, regardless of economic status, were bound together by the agape love ethic. For he knew that there is only one humanity, all made in the image of God, bound by the same beginning and the same destiny, for in the end, we must answer to God. He was a man who had courage enough to act on his convention, but he's at rest now. And perhaps we should ask ourselves how we can honor and continue his legacy, not just for a gathering once a year. Who will take the baton he spoke of and continue the support for voting rights, for housing for the poor? Who has the courage to speak out against racism and anti-Semitism, to do those things that are required of us? For when we leave this place, our skin color is not going to matter. It will return to ashes and dust to dust. So it is with this message that I send to you that we remember what it says by the old prophet Micah, chapter 6, verse 8, which reads, "He has showed you, O man, what is good. And what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God." Let us pray. Let us bow our heads. At this time, Father God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, we bow before you, thanking you for being a God of righteousness, a God of love, and a God of mercy, a God who has all power in his hands. Bless this commemoration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in a special way, and open our hearts and our minds to your truth, to love one another. Lord, by your Spirit, inspire us to see one another as sisters and brothers. Made in your image is my prayer. Let us all say amen and amen again. Praise God.
Thank you so much, Reverend, for your words and for your prayer over us. May that lead and guide us. Greetings, community. So glad to be before you. Greetings to those who are joining live with us. Gratitude to join today. But ask Alexis also to come up here with me. All righty. On behalf of the entire, thank you. On behalf of the entirety of our Equity, Diversity, Inclusion community and team, I stand before you along as Lexis. We're honored to really honor the vision of our chancellor with the support, of course, of our trustee, Colleen Eckerhawk, and so many people. Because of your stewardship and guidance, we collectively as a community understand the importance of our land acknowledgements to be manifestations and expressions of the relationships in which we build with our tribal elders, our leaders, and Native and Indigenous communities. Let this be a reminder that acknowledgments are to help our community honor their indigenous ways of knowing what the past has taught us, what the present is revealing to us, and what the future is demanding of us. Our land acknowledgments are here to tell the truth and to seek the truth about our history. Lexus will be providing not only an institutional action as we move forward with acknowledging land, we also acknowledge what is our institution going to be doing to support our Native community, and Lexus will do that as well as with a cultural response to as well. In the spirit of that, I do acknowledge our land. And with that, I acknowledge the original land and occupants and stewards in which this land, all of our Seattle colleges gathers. That is the traditional homes of the Coast Salish people, the traditional homes in all bandwidth within the Muckleshoot, Suquamish, Duwamish, Tulalip, and Tulalip, nations. I also want to pause as well to honor what is our labor. We also pause to honor our labor in which this United States was created and still benefits from. We remember that this nation was built on the labor of enslaved people who were forcibly brought to the U.S. from African continents, and recognize their contributions and their survivors. We acknowledge all immigrant labor, we acknowledge all voluntary forced prison labor, and the contributions built to maintain this nation. May we understand and acknowledge all unpaid caregiving labor, and may we also, within the Seattle colleges, honor the stewards who take care of the grounds that we get to stand here, and we honor the folks who stood and made sure that we have what is the seats that you are sitting on today. So may we pause just for a moment as a community to reflect on what we want to be as global peace, humanity, healing, and justice for all that we need within this community. And as we pause, may we remember and reflect on the community members within the Seattle colleges who are not here with us, who were here with us this last past MLK, but who's passed and cannot be with us on today. May we pause, community. Thank you. Ashe, Ashe, and Ashe. And I now present to you Lexus.
Hi. Are you going to bring me a steps?
Yeah, they got the steps. You and Dr. Rosie.
I know, really. Oh, no, it's a little too short. That's okay. Thank you. Thank you, DeAndre. Good morning, Seattle Colleges community. My name is Alexis Burris, and I'm honored to serve as the interim director of the EDIC here at South Seattle College. Yes, go EDIC. I am the daughter of Brandy Wright and Daryl Reed, and I'm proud to have my father here with us today, actually. So, hey, Dad. On my mother's side, I belong to the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians from Belcourt, North Dakota. In fact, my grandmother was the first on my mother's side of my family to be born here in Washington State, far from our tribal lands in our Turtle Mountain community. I share this part of my story to highlight how disconnected many Native people can feel from their land and culture due to historical forced relocations and other systemic barriers. When I first joined this institution, I spent time considering how we as Seattle colleges are connecting with tribal communities, how we engage Native youth and adults, and how we can ensure they feel seen, welcomed, and valued. Over the past 2 years serving at Seattle colleges, I've witnessed significant progress, and I hope you all have too. We've established meaningful partnerships with organizations such as Urban Native Education Alliance, UNEA, which was established before I got here, which works to empower Native youth through education, culture, and tradition. We've also strengthened our relationship with Cheap Seattle Club, supporting their vision of a future where Native homelessness no longer exists. I'd like to acknowledge our partnership with the United Indians of All Tribes Foundations, which has been instrumental in connecting our Native and Indigenous indigenous relatives to apprenticeship opportunities. And last, we've had the privilege of partnering with Mother Nation here at South Seattle College, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing social and cultural healing services to Native women. We've worked together to support their efforts by hosting donation drives to help our unsheltered relatives with essential needs during the holidays and colder months. In our ongoing commitment to deepen relationships with Native and Indigenous communities, we held a series of Indigenous roundtable discussions last year. These discussions underscored the importance of establishing a tribal liaison position to foster a meaningful relationship between Seattle colleges and tribal leaders. I am proud to share that with the support of Chancellor Rosie and in collaboration with DeAndre Fisher, our Associate Vice Chancellor of EDIC, we've worked to create the inaugural district-wide tribal liaison to the Chancellor's office. That is a long title. As chair of this search committee for this position, I want to recognize the committee members. Dr. Eileen Jimenez for getting us started. Thank you, Dr. Eileen. Maya Escobedo, Renee Almaterra, Lorena Hernandez, Rebecca Perez Martinez, Kisa O'Quinn, and Julian Barr, our inclusion advocate, who worked tirelessly to identify two outstanding candidates, Willard Bill Jr., an enrolled member of the Muckleshoot tribe, and Kateri Joe, a Swinomish tribal member. I invite you all to attend our upcoming virtual community forums on January 29th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and again from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. These forums will be a chance to engage directly with the candidates and to learn more about this important position. While there is so much to be done, I am proud of the intentional steps we've taken to strengthen our relationships with the tribal communities whose lands we occupy today. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Coast Salish people, the Duwamish, the Muckleshoot, the Tulalip, and the Suquamish nations. Their resistance to the efforts that seek to separate them from their land and culture has made it possible for us to access this space, and I am deeply indebted to them for these forced sacrifices. It is our collective responsibility to critically engage with these histories, to repair the harm that has been done, and to honor, protect, and sustain this land for future generations. Thank you.
Alexis and DeAndre, thank you for all of your work that you do. It is so important. And thank you for that land acknowledgement, for reminding all of us about the lands and the people who are the original stewards of where we now gather. It is a collective responsibility to remember and to recognize. We should be doing it more than on just events like today, but it is so important. Dr. Reverend Beaumonte, thank you for the words of reflection and the message for the future. I know I speak for Seattle Colleges when I say the relationship with Mount Zion is so special. This is truly one of my favorite events to come to every year, and it is a breath of fresh air. It is so wonderful to be with all of you today. We do want to quickly recognize Seattle College's leadership team and some of the special guests participating today. You can save your applause to the end. You can clap a little if you want. Seattle College's Chancellor, Dr. Rosie Ramondo Cherensap, Trustee Colleen Echo Hawk. A Congresswoman is joining us today from Mila Jayapal. And of course, our Seattle College's President, Dr. Rachel Solomsas, who is joining us online today. Dr. Shantae Rakasner, Acting President of Seattle Central College. Hi there. And Dr. Monica Brown, President of South Seattle College. And hello again, Dr. Reverend Phyllis Beaumonte. Certainly welcome to all the community members and the leaders who are here today and who have joined us in this tradition. As a special thanks to Seattle College's faculty, staff, and students in attendance, and those who helped make this great program happen, I want to give everybody who put in this hard work another round of applause. And I hope you all enjoyed your delicious breakfasts, because we want to say a special thank you to South Seattle College for hosting and catering this event today. And now let me hand over the floor to one of the world's greatest choirs ever, as we have already heard, Greater Works.
Lord is blessing me right now, oh, right now. I said the Lord is blessing me right now, oh, right now. He woke me up this morning and started me on my way. The Lord is blessing me right now, oh, right now.
I got lost in the moment there. They had, you're up, Chancellor. Get up there. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Thank you, Greater Works, for keeping our energy up and high as we move through the conversations, the thinking, the expansion that I hope is happening for each of us every time we get together like this here across the district. My name is Rosie Raimondo Cherensap. I serve as the Chancellor for the Seattle Colleges, and thank you. I've been here for 25 years, the bulk of it spent here at South. The last years of my time here at South spent as the president, and I have looked forward to this day so many years of my career here, and proud to say that I've been at many of the celebrations over the years. I know we didn't have footage of DaNell, Daymon, and Greater Works from many other performances, but they've always been dynamic and thrilling, and I'm so glad that we can continue another 20 years together. So I look forward to this every year. As I said, I think it's a chance for us to renew what we took jobs in the community college system to do in the first place. And I'm speaking to my colleagues from within the community colleges. Because it's whether you realized it or not when you took a job here, you took a job that was fighting for social justice. The way that community colleges are configured, the way we were founded, in fact, and then had to be evolved to meet the intention that was stated then, was that we would open access to serve the community's educational needs broadly in our communities. And that's what we strive to do on a regular basis. In 2019, September 2019, as president here at South, I stood on this same podium. They didn't have the Alexis box for me then, so I had to play with the mic a lot. But I made a speech here that invited us to become an anti-racist institution, to become an anti-racist college. And I said at the time, I did not know what the work needed to look like. I just knew that that was the path we had to put ourselves on. And I said, you all would be the ones who would know what the work would need to look like. And I'm so proud to say that over the last 6 years, to watch that charge be emboldened in every corner, in so many corners of our organization, to become systemic change, to become at least the seeds of really difficult long-term change, has been really, I use the word twice now, thrilling for me from the role where I sit now as your chancellor. Becoming a more anti-racist organization means remaking systems and dismantling remaking systems, simultaneously dismantling and remaking them with care for those that are still imperfectly employed and educated within them. Dr. King sought systemic change to achieve racial equality and to eliminate other forms of oppression. And yet his impact has also reached us as individuals, so many millions and millions of us since his time here with us leading across the world, in fact. And he still challenges us to, I believe, in the spirit of Maya Angelou's words, to do better when we know better. And he reminds us that the arc of moral justice is long, but that it bends towards justice. It's not achieved overnight. It's not achieved even within a quarter or a year or any of the time frames we want to push things and see them through. It often takes so much longer, but the persistence in the work is what matters most. So as I think about the lessons I've learned and the lessons I hope that we can learn as an organization for the Seattle Colleges, I urge us as a Seattle Colleges community to remember that while we work to eliminate racism and injustice as a college system, we have to remain vigilant in eliminating them in our interactions with one another, in our ingrained thought processes, in our conscious and unconscious biases, and that work has to happen on an individual level, or the systems change that we hope to achieve will never occur effectively or permanently. And so with that, I want to turn to someone who is working at an individual and systemic level. She's been a strong partner and a friend to the Seattle Colleges through the years. She has met with our students upon their request. She has called us to ask to meet with our students as well. And she has advocated for us on so many levels. And right now, she's decided to spend, of all the places she could be at this moment in American history, she has chosen to be here with us today. So I'm honored to introduce Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal to the stage.
Good morning. I can't think of a place I would rather be than today. This is my joy, my privilege, and as I've been listening to the incredible choir, to our amazing chancellor, who I think is showing us what leadership looks like when you go into an institution and you actually open it up to figure out how to make it better with the input of everyone in the room. Let's give our chancellor a round of applause. Dr. Brown, thank you for having us here at South. We so appreciate it. And to all the educators who are in the room, this is the place I want to be, because this is actually the future of our country. You know, when I think about education, I think about Dr. King, and I serve on the Education and Labor Committee for the last 4 terms that I've been in Congress. I think about the fact that Dr. King knew that education was critical not only for fulfilling the individual potential of human intelligence, but actually also of character. As early as 1947, Dr. King warned that we are prone, quote, to let our mental life become invaded by legions of half-truths, prejudices, and propaganda. And he identified even then how essential education is for critical thinking. Dr. King was, as we all know, a prescient man from the beginning to the end. Fast forward 2 decades to the end of his life, 1968. He gave that quote, he wrote that quote as part of an essay he wrote on education back in 1947. Fast forward 2 decades now to the year when he died. That year held a lot of similarities to the moment that I find ourselves in today. That year, Dr. King was deep in a months-long organizing fight to support local sanitation workers. Workers who were considered, because of the essential work they did, they were considered at the bottom of the scale, people that perhaps nobody else was paying attention to. But Dr. King certainly was. These were some of the most vulnerable and too often reviled workers despite the essential nature of their work. The US was also involved at that time in a brutal war overseas where our tax dollars funded endless bombs that were killing innocent civilians and families, children. A cynical, corrupt, criminal politician was running for president at that time on a strategy of dividing people by stoking racial resentments and undermining the fabric of our democracy by raising unprecedented sums of money and courting massive corporate donors. This was back in 1968. This was all on the backs of what seemed like a retreat from the very values and principles that Dr. King had been pushing for. Just a few years earlier, it actually seemed to the country as if progress was on the march forward, with Democrats passing historic legislation aimed at lifting up poor and working people, things like the Economic Opportunity Act, the Food Stamp Act, the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act. But now it seemed that the country was regressing. The night before Dr. King was assassinated, he told a crowd of cold, exhausted sanitation workers, he said, "The world around is all messed up. Trouble is in the land, confusion all around. I know somehow that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. Only when it's dark enough can you see the stars. And just a few months before that, in a sermon, Dr. King reiterated the call to be strong even in times of despair. He said, "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." And I love thinking about that, finite disappointment and infinite hope, because that's what we need to cultivate in ourselves every minute of every day. It's certainly what's in the Black National Anthem. It's in the songs that we heard today. It's in the speeches that you're listening to. And all the time, and certainly it's necessary in this eerily similar moment to 1968, and with all that we know we're going to face over the coming years. And so as the representative for this district, which is a tremendous privilege and honor to be the first and only South Asian American woman ever elected to the United States House, to be one of only 24 immigrants, naturalized citizens who serve in the United States House, and to be a representative of a district who understands how deeply critical social justice on every level for every community is. There are so many vulnerable people who are suffering across our community, across our country. People who are struggling paycheck to paycheck, and we have to be willing to say the P word, poverty. In this deeply rich country, we have 130 million people of low wealth in this country. People who are struggling to make ends meet if their food stamps are cut. Immigrants who have taken care of us in the fields and the hospitals and now face potential mass deportations. Our beautiful trans community who simply want to live their full lives as who they are, like everybody else of us, but are being vilified for that. Workers who see the profits of a tiny few rise even as they labor to do the work of our economy without knowing if they can buy a house. And yes, our young people who desperately need the education, the critical thinking, and the training of character to have the very skills that you all, the educators in the room here, are teaching at the Seattle colleges. Dr. King would want us to come together and refuse to give in to the divisiveness, to the racism, to the xenophobia that is being fueled and spread, to stand up courageously for our most vulnerable communities, for our students, for our workers, and demand what is right, no matter how difficult it may seem in the moment. He would want us to demand of ourselves conscience. Conscience. Just 4 days before he was assassinated, Dr. King said this: "Cowardice asks the question, is it expedient? And then expedience comes along and asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? And conscience asks the question, is it right?" Conscience is what we all need to nurture in ourselves, in our students, in our communities. And I know, unfortunately, that the next 4 years will bring many tests, that it may be neither politic nor expedient, nor without risk to stand up for what we know to be just, and yet let us remind ourselves that courage is not acting in the absence of fear, it's acting despite fear. So today, let us honor with joy, with appreciation, and with a deep commitment to moving forward Dr. King's legacy by being courageous, by committing ourselves to building that beloved community that we feel right here in this room, where acting for justice is an act of love and deep commitment to the very values that light the way forward, even in darkness. And I want to thank you all for what you do every single day, because I hear from you I've spoken to you, as Rosie said. I've been here with you. I've wept with you. I know the struggles that are there in your communities and your families. And I want to thank you for still standing up to act for justice. And I am so proud that I will be spending the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, Monday, January 20th, right here at home, feeding the hungry instead of being in Washington, D.C. Thank you all so much for having me.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. Now it is time for our keynote speaker, Tim Wise. He is among the most prominent anti-racist writers and educators in the United States. He has spent the past 25 years speaking to audiences in all 50 states on over 1,500 college and high school campuses, at hundreds of professional and academic conferences, to dozens of corporate, government, entertainment, media, law enforcement, military, nonprofit, medical, industry professionals, you name it, all about systemic racism and the methods for dismantling racial inequity in those institutions. Wise is the author of 9 books, including his latest, Dispatches from the Race War, and his highly acclaimed memoir, White Like Me, Reflections on Race from a Privileged Son. He has appeared on hundreds of radio and television programs and is also a regular contributor to CNN and MSNBC. Please join me in welcoming this morning, Tim Wise.
Thank you. So I'm keeping the step because I wanted to know what it was like to be 6 feet tall. I've never accomplished this. I will say it's a little dizzy up here. The air is thinner, that extra few inches underneath my feet. I'm 5'8" on like a good day, you understand. Like I was 5'9" in my 30s, but you know, things happen and you just sort of get a little tinier as the years go on. So I'm gonna use this, I may take this step with me for my next presentation, if y'all don't have a problem with that. It is an honor to be with you here today. First off, it is an honor to be allowed to come and speak about these things. I'm from Tennessee. They don't allow this where I'm from. I'm sure they'll have an MLK celebration in Tennessee, but it'll be neutered of all content. It will be stripped of all radicalism. It will be stripped of all the truth that we can speak, at least still in this state and on this campus, because of the commitment that you all have made. So give yourselves a big hand for not capitulating to the politics of fear and backlash and resentment that is sweeping the nation. Secondly, it is of course an honor to speak on a day where we honor the history, the legacy, and the work of Dr. King, and maybe more so this year than ever because of the tragic irony that we will be celebrating his birthday on Monday, on the day when a man will be reinaugurated as president of this country who rejects everything that the man we honor on that day stood for. And so it is especially important for me to say what I have to say today and for you all to continue the work that you are doing. I keep hearing people saying as we prepare for the reinauguration of this man at the head of government that all of the things he has planned for us are unprecedented. They say things every time there is another spasm of anti-black or brown violence, another spasm of racial violence and hatred. They say the same thing. They say, this is not who we are, America, which leads me to ask them if they have ever met their country. Have y'all met? Because if you have met your country, you would know, as the Congresswoman alluded to a few minutes ago, that none of this is new. It is not unprecedented. It is not new. It is not original. It is part and parcel of our entire history. You can think of Donald Trump as a reversion to type, y'all. And everything since the founding to this has just been an intermission. You see, like, we got all spoiled and thought that we had made all of this progress, and it's like intermission at a Broadway show, where you get up and you stretch your legs and you use the restroom and you get some candy or some popcorn or whatever you get, refreshment, and then it's back to the show. It's like back on Sundays when I was a kid. Y'all might remember back in the day when they only had NFL games on CBS, and they had the 3 o'clock game where I'm from in Central Time. Probably that's when it was out here too. Eastern, it would have been 4. 3 o'clock game, and it never got finished in time for 60 minutes at 6 o'clock. It would always bleed over into the 6 o'clock hour, and they would come on when 60 minutes was ready. When the game was over, they would come on and say, now back to your regularly scheduled programming. That's what Monday is, y'all. It is the regularly scheduled programming. It is not an aberration. It is a fulfillment of a sad and tragic legacy that has been a part of this country since its inception. And I know we're not supposed to say that. And I'm not allowed to say it in 25 states without risking my own professional career and the careers of anybody foolish enough to bring me in. But y'all are okay for now, so I'm just gonna say what I have to say. Let us be very clear that the multiracial democracy that we seek and that we fight for and that we must recommit to every day, especially after this coming Monday, is something that was never promised, and it was not the intention of the people who created this country. Now, it can be our intention and it should be our goal, but it was not theirs. And we do ourselves a disservice when we act like that isn't true because it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound nice and it hurts some folks' feelings. But they had no intention of extending the promise of liberty and democracy to all. They made it clear. The 3/5 compromise in the Constitution made it clear. The fugitive slave clause in the Constitution made it clear, as did the very first thing that Congress did of any substance after the Constitution was ratified. Do y'all know what that was? The very first significant piece of legislation they passed after the Constitution was ratified was a thing called the Naturalization Act of 1790. And what did the Naturalization Act of 1790 say? Because keep in mind now, if it's the first thing you do, it must be awfully important, right? There's a lot of things they could have done first. You might have thought they were going to try to figure out the tax and revenue system. They got to raise money for the new government, but they were like, yeah, we'll get to that. We got to do this other thing first. You might have thought that they would have said, hey, we better get the military ready because the Brits may come and try to have another run. You know, that's possible. And you might think that would have been a logical first thing. But they said, yeah, no, we'll get to that. But we have to do this first. So what was the Naturalization Act? It basically just said one thing. It said all free white persons and only free white persons could be citizens of this country. That was the most important thing on their agenda and on their minds, was making sure everybody knew who this was for and who it was not for. So when we talk about a country that refuses to engage the legacy of systemic racism and gets angry when we suggest that racism has been embedded in this country from the start, they are ignoring their history, rewriting their history, asking us to remain ignorant in the face of that history. But Dr. King would have told the truth. He did tell the truth, and I will tell it today. This country was intended only for the few. If we want it to be for all, that's on us. History certainly won't do it for us, and the legacy of those who brought this country into being will not do it for us, but now the legacy of those who have expanded those blessings will. The legacy and the work of those who have fought to make it what it was never intended to be, that is the tradition in which we walk. But in order to do that appropriately, we have to be honest about the forces that we face. And too many people don't want us to do that. And so in 24 states, they have passed laws, and probably come next week, there will be an executive order extending that to all states. So get ready. Get ready. Because all the nice white liberals in Seattle won't be able to stop them from trying to do what they're trying to do. And I know that black and brown folk understand when I talk about the nice white liberals in Seattle. Y'all know exactly what I mean. I know that nice white liberals are like, wait, what? But just understand, right, that all the liberalism in the world, all the progressivism in the world, all the stated principles and bumper stickers and signs in your yard, all of those things are not going to stop what is coming. It is going to require more than that. Because they will extend this ban on divisive concepts in schools, or at least they will try, to every state. They're threatening to take away the endowments of colleges that do DEI or any kind of equity work at all, so y'all better be ready. and not ready to capitulate like some folks already are. We already have people in this country that are, sort of preemptively complying with the nonsense that's coming. We have to have people courageous enough to stand up and tell the truth. And I know y'all will be those people, but I'm just saying it so you hear it today and that you remember it tomorrow and going forward, because it is coming. Right? The ability to actually tell the truth is under attack as a divisive concept. They say we aren't allowed in school to use terms like systemic racism, or to suggest that America was always a racist country and it was embedded in this country from the start. But you know who said that that was the case? Dr. King did. Now, you won't hear that Dr. King quoted on Monday. They never quote that Dr. King. They take one line out of one speech, which I gather is the only speech they ever heard the man give. Now, he was a minister. He preached every Sunday. And he spoke on a lot of other days of the week, but they only got, it's like this man stood up in Washington, gave one line about judging people on the content of their character rather than the color of their skin, and then he just sat down, and then a few years later, he got shot for it. You don't get shot for that line. You don't get shot for that sanitized version of a vision of America. You get shot because you said some other things and you believed in some other things. And here's what Dr. King said in the last essay that he wrote before he was assassinated. Now, it was published after his assassination. It was published in the pages of Playboy, and I only know about that because I read it for the articles. Y'all understand? That is a joke that will only hit for people who are over 40. But y'all can tell the young folks what I mean by that. This essay was in the pages of Playboy, and Dr. King in those pages, in his words, said that white America was poisoned to its soul by racism. Racism which was, and these are his words, as native to the soil of this country as sagebrush, pine trees, and buffalo grass. That Dr. King will not be quoted on Monday. But that's the one who lived in reality. See, the king of memory and the king of reality are two very different ones. And we have to cleave to the real one, the one who said those things, the one who told us all of the things which the schools in this country are increasingly being prohibited from telling. If they get their way, we won't be able to tell the truth about what this man believed and what he said. We will strip all of that out of the textbooks in the name of not having certain people get in their feelings about a critique of America and a critique of white supremacy as a system that has guided this country for far too long. Whenever people of color have made progress in this country, we have seen exactly the kind of backlash that we see right now. Carol Anderson, brilliant scholar at Emory University, writes about that in her book, White Rage. Every step forward met by the kind of backlash that we are seeing right now. Right? It happened after the end of enslavement, during the period of Reconstruction, a mass increase in violence. And the end of Reconstruction, overthrown by former enslavers, human traffickers. Right? It happened when black folk left the South during the Great Migration and were met by riots and violence and redlining and discrimination in the North and the Midwest and out West. It happened during the Civil Rights era. It happened after affirmative action. It happened after the election of Barack Obama. It happens every time anything moves the ball forward, even symbolically, on the road to racial justice. So much so that now DEI has become an all-purpose slur. DEI is the new N-word that folks feel they can say without fear of repercussion. Anything that goes wrong on their job, in their company, in government, they will blame it on DEI. So if a barge hits a bridge in Baltimore and knocks it down, they say it's the fault of who? The DEI mayor. As if somehow, if the mayor were a white guy, the bridge would have been stronger. He would have somehow fortified it with his white man magic. Right? Last year, when an airplane had a door blow out, remember the airplane had the door blow out at like 30,000 feet? And they blamed that on DEI at Boeing. because they have a program, I guess, to encourage folks of color to become pilots or something. I don't think pilots put the door on, by the way, right? I don't think that's a thing, but they blamed it on DEI. If it had just been white men at the machinists union soldering the door on to the plane, it wouldn't have happened. Listen, I gave a speech at Local 751 of the Boeing Machinists Union about 20 years ago. I saw plenty of white men there, plenty of them still there, putting the doors on, and I'm not saying it's their fault, but I know damn good and well it was not black folks' fault. It was not brown folks' fault, but they blamed it on that. The fires that are ravaging Los Angeles right now, Elon Musk insists what? That's about DEI, because they've spent so much time trying to diversify the fire department that they didn't take care of learning how to fight fires. Elon Musk insists that DEI is to blame for everything that goes wrong. Now, I would note, as a side note, his rocket blew up yesterday. And it's not the first time. He's had a few of these blow up. Right? So I guess the white men who work on his rockets, right, aren't nearly as good as he would have us believe. Maybe they need a little DEI at SpaceX. But that's the kind of backlash that we face now. Anytime that folks of color or women of any color find themselves at the helm of a position they wouldn't have had previously, it is seen as reverse discrimination. It is seen as evidence of lowering standards because they assume by definition that those folks of color and those women of all colors are less qualified. They believe that because of racism and because of sexism, and we have to be prepared to call that out every single time that we hear it. We now face an even more systemic and institutional form of backlash, though, with Project 2025, which is promising upon the resumption of the Trump regime, promising to roll back the progress of the last century and certainly the last 70 years when it comes to racial justice. They are telling us what they intend to do. And among the things that they want to do, which has received almost no attention in the press, is they want to abolish the collection of data that would demonstrate racial disparity in any arena of life, whether that's poverty numbers, unemployment numbers, health outcomes, criminal justice outcomes, educational outcomes. Right? They want to ban the collection of data so that you will not be able to see the disparities. It becomes a see no evil, hear about no evil, therefore we can remedy no evil kind of mentality, right? If you just erase inequality from the public mind and you strip us of the tools necessary to see it, then we can't address it. So you wouldn't be able to find out, for instance, in coming years, what we can find out now, which is, as one example, that even black folks with a college degree are almost twice as likely as white folks with a degree to be unemployed, even when they majored in the same subjects. That Latino folk with a degree are about 50% more likely than white folks with a comparable degree to be unemployed. That indigenous folk with a degree are about 2/3 more likely than comparable white folk with a degree to be unemployed. That Asian American and Pacific Islander folk with a degree about 15 to 20% more likely than comparable white folks to be out of work. That data exists now, and it compels us to think about how to remedy those gaps. But if you remove the data, there will be no ability to even see what is going on. You won't be able to recognize what we can recognize now, which is that even black households headed by a college graduate have 30% less wealth on average than white households headed by a high school dropout. Let me say it again. Black households headed by a college graduate, 30% less wealth on average than white households headed by somebody that did not finish high school. That is because of the legacy of unequal opportunity handed down generation in and generation out. And we can find that data today, but in a week or 2 weeks or 5 months, we may not be able to unless we raise our voice and demand that our government continue to keep tabs on racial injustice in this country. So how do we respond in this moment? Some would have you believe that the answer is to talk less about racism. These are the people who in the wake of the election said the reason the election went the way it did is that some folk were being too woke and focusing too much on identity politics. I beg to remind you, all politics is identity politics. If I appeal to you as a taxpayer, I am appealing to an identity. If I appeal to you as a parent worried about schools in your community, I'm appealing to your identity. If I appeal to you as a white evangelical Christian, I'm appealing to you on the basis of your identity, but we never call that identity politics. And I would beg to remind you, if I say we should pay more attention to the white working class, that's an identity too, y'all. Only someone deliberately blind to the realities of this country would think that white working class people are identityless avatars of universality. So the idea that we need to talk less about race and identity and more about class, I beg to remind you again that in 2020, when wokeness was on display in the streets of this country, 23 million people in the largest racial justice uprising in this country's history, the election went the other way, didn't it? So how can wokeness be to blame for 2024 when it didn't seem to hurt in 2020? Maybe we should have talked more about racial equity. Maybe we should have talked more about racial injustice so that those folks who stayed on the sidelines, who were inspired by that message 4 years ago, might have stayed in formation rather than falling out. So we don't need to talk less about it, but what we do need to do is connect it to the struggles of others. There's a way to talk about racial justice that connects it to the struggle of white working people. You don't have to choose either or, it's both and. The pain of black people metastasizes and becomes the pain of white people. We know that because the pain of black and brown folks in the war on drugs has now become the pain of opioid addiction in white communities. Because 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we decided that drug use was a moral failing. Not a public health problem, but a moral failing that could only be handled with jail and prison cells. And now 40 years later, you got white families wondering why their little nephew, why their cousin, why their son, why their parents can't get rehab. I'll tell you why. Because we didn't put the money into rehabilitation. We put it into locking folks up. But because they lived on that side of town, you didn't care and you voted for the very same people who are killing your children today. See, black pain metastasizes and becomes white pain. You have all these white folks in rural areas and small towns in the Rust Belt saying, where'd all the jobs go? Why don't y'all bring the jobs back to America? Why don't you bring the plant back to my community that used to be here? Here's an interesting fact. Those plants started abandoning black and brown communities 35 years ago. And black and brown folks said the same thing. Why don't y'all bring the jobs back? And you know what those folks said? Why don't y'all get up and move? Go where the jobs are. Pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. And now, 35 years later, the same corporate oligarchs that didn't give a damn about black and brown folk in urban areas find out they don't give a damn about your rural and small town ass either. Black pain, brown pain metastasizes and becomes white pain. Think about COVID, which, by the way, is not over. Right? Think about COVID. At the beginning of the pandemic, the first couple of months, right, only about 28% of those who had died, according to the CDC, in the first 2 months were white. And so once it got known that this was a black person's problem and a brown person's problem, and the headlines said it in April of 2020, that this was disproportionately killing folks of color. And within 2 weeks, what happened? White folks were at state capitals all around the country demanding that everything be opened back up. Because, see, it wasn't a problem for them. So they showed up in their camouflage with their semi-automatic weapons, demanding the right to go back to Olive Garden for endless breadsticks, demanding the right to get their hair cut, demanding the right to go bowling, demanding the right to go to Buffalo Wild Wings. I gotta get back to my life. because it's not hurting me and mine. See, but now stick around, and what happened? By the end of 2020, when all those folks decided they weren't at risk, so they weren't going to wear a mask, and they weren't going to stand 6 feet away from you at the Trader Joe's, and they were not going to get the vaccine because that's got some kind of satanic DNA in it or whatever nonsense they were saying. We're not going to do any of that. And by the end of 2020, first couple of months of 2021, what do you know? Now 60% of the monthly dead were white folks. And today, 4 years in, about 63% of all those who have died have been white. What does that tell you? It tells you that if black lives had mattered in April and May and June of 2020, then a lot of white folks would still be with us today. But there are people who have buried their family members, buried their friends, buried their loved ones because we could not be bothered to engage in solidarity with those who were dying early. Black pain metastasizes and becomes white pain. And so at some point, we have to tell that story. We have to make the case that Dr. King so eloquently tried to make, which was that all of those injustices that some face early eventually will come back around again. I realize that we in the white community were never taught that. But black and brown folks have lived it. And if we're paying attention and we're prepared to be courageous enough to talk to our people and to explain the connection between the pain of some and the pain of all, then we can create the kind of beloved community that Dr. King believed in. We can fulfill the promises not only of his dream and his vision, but of a multiracial democracy, even though the founders of this country did not believe in it, did not want it, and did not desire or fight for it. We are the new founders of a new country. And it is time for us to continue to get busy in the work that we all know has to be done. Thank you all so much for being here, and I appreciate being able to share with you today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, choir. It's normal. Y'all are doing what y'all do best. Well, I want to take a moment. 3 years ago, we introduced what is a new element to our MLK program, and that is recognizing what is the social justice work that occurs right here within the Seattle colleges. We should be proud of the work that we do to say that we are social justice warriors. Today, I'm going to highlight the work and highlight some work and recognize what is a program within the Seattle colleges. We're going to highlight as well a group of students, some faculty, and as well as take a moment to highlight a community hero within our own community too as well. One of the programs that we're going to highlight, or the program that we're going to highlight, is the one and only, none other than the Academy for Rising Educators. It's a pivotal moment in understanding that advancing social and economic justice and equity, transforming the way of the youth and how they experience the learning within the classroom. We're going to play a video, and as we play a video, I do want to invite Dr. Pat Russell and K.O. Wilson to the stage to learn more about the program too and the partnership. While they make their way up to the podium, we do have a video that we're going to play.
When you see yourself, you get the message loud and clear that this is for you too. It is really critical to make sure that students at every level, at every age, see themselves reflected.
This program is facilitated by people of color who are looking out for other people of color and want to see them succeed. It's an experience next to none.
My connection to ARE goes way back to the very, very beginning. I was asked to construct the program. I've always grown up with education, and education being a key to liberation. And the idea of BIPOC teachers teaching BIPOC children, it's an old one that really needed revamping.
The ARE program meets every individual where they need to be at in order to get to that point of teacher certification.
I wish the public would understand the importance of being a teacher. We're in need of teachers.
I feel I was put in the position to go and do something different to help my community, help kids, help the next generation. And so I embraced it.
We need to begin to take a look at what are the needs of these different types of students. We really need that community that ARE can build to be able to make those types of changes.
This group of individuals coming from all across the greater Seattle region, united under one purpose to help support future educators.
I don't think that I would have been as far as I am right now or even went back to school if it wasn't for ARE, to be honest with you. There's a motivation I get from working with these children. When they see you doing something, they say they can do it too. So it's not just you just telling them something.
Some of them think it's not cool to be smart, when in all actuality, it's very cool to be smart, but just your way. How are you smart your way?
I take it as that opportunity to be able to give back, to positively influence those coming up, because these are going to be our future leaders.
Can you make me into the teacher I wish I had when I was a kid?
Especially growing up in places where it might be you're the minority. Within this program, we're not the minority. We are the majority here. We're stronger together. And to have these people of influence teaching you, showing you, giving you tools, you just can't put a price on that.
They become more than just professionals, peers. They become more like family.
As long as you have teachers that have your back and want to see you succeed and will help you, and you ask for help, anything's possible.
We want to make sure by educating educators that this continues to spread and to spread and to spread. It's so critical to make sure that everybody has that chance. Everybody has that chance.
First of all, I want to say thank you. We're really honored to be honored by our peers here. I also want to say that we don't do this work alone at all. ARE is a family. It's a pretty big one, too. I want to start by thanking Vice Chancellor DeAndre Fisher and EDIC. You've always supported ARE, always, and helped us to get where we are today. We couldn't have done this without you. Dr. Dalia Sharif, our new Executive Director of Works Fork and Economic Development. Although she's new, she jumped right in to help us find resources to take us through the rest of this year. Because as you all know, we are in a crunch, and so shout out to that. I also want to acknowledge Dr. Melania Llanos and the crew at North. Can you stand up? Hi, Anna. You all have been lifesavers. They took in a cohort at the last minute this year of our BAS bachelor students from Seattle Central. So thank you. You are a lifesaver yet again. To Chris Sullivan, I know you're here, Chris. I saw you. To Chris Sullivan, who's more than an ally, he truly is a co-conspirator and has been with ARE from day one, helping to design this program and support it. Also, I want to thank, if you're here, the staff and faculty of ARE and of HHS. Dr. Kimberly, I know you're here. Who? Alexis and Nick. Alexis and Nick, I know you're here. Stand up. Thank you so much. To those of you folks at Central who have been behind the scenes that make this work, thank you. I don't know if Diane Coleman is here, but thank you, Diane, who was our registrar, who helps oversee financial aid. Big thing to get our students through. Our students come out of this program debt-free, okay, debt-free. I also want to just say that the student educators of ARE are why we get up in the morning,
You're the ones making a difference with children and in the community. You all are amazing and continue to astound us with your brilliance. ARE couldn't have grown to reach into communities throughout the region without our community partners as well. To name just a few, Seattle Public Schools, the City of Seattle, Filipino Community Center, the Puget Sound Education Service District, and the University of Washington, who have all been working very closely with us to expand the program. We now have ARE graduates at UW in graduate and doctoral programs. So I want to thank you for that support. In 2018, remember who was in office then? In 2018, the Academy of Rising Educators was a dream child of Dr. Sheila Edwards Lang, who was then the Seattle Central College president, Dr. Keisha Scarlett, who is the chief of equity partnerships and engagement at Seattle Public Schools, and Dr. Dwayne Chappelle. Are you here? Hi. The director of the Department of Education and Early Learning at the City of Seattle. They created the concept of an education program targeting BIPOC individuals who wanted to become teachers as a way to address the disproportionate number of BIPOC teachers in Seattle Public Schools. Right now, I'll throw out some statistics, 54.7% in the school are students of color, but we have almost 80% of teachers who are white. These children aren't seeing themselves. When you don't see yourselves, you get the message loud and clear. This is not for you. Okay? We need to make sure that every child knows that education is for them. And that's what ARE is about. Since 2019, ARE has enrolled 5 cohorts for a total enrollment of 116. The overall retention rate is approximately 81%. 75 have already graduated with a dual AADTA and AAS degree in education. 40 have graduated with their BAS in early childhood from North. Currently, we have 1 cohort of 20 in the process of completing their bachelor's at North, and members of 1 cohort who are in the process of completing their bachelor's at City University, also one of our programs. 40 ARE graduates have either completed or in the process of completing their master's degrees and teacher certifications at the UW, with 2 students currently in doctoral programs. These are all Black and brown students, okay, and they're going back into the schools. In conjunction with our partners, we're really looking forward to opening the ARE BAS program at Seattle Central in the fall of 2025. So again, we want to thank you all very much for your support and for what you're doing. Keep on doing it.
Oh man, thank y'all for having me here. I just want to echo what Dr. Pat said. Right now, we have parents who are afraid to send their children to school because of the violence that are going on in the schools. Think about that. School that's supposed to be nourishing people's learning, supposed to be a safe space. We have to lock our doors now. So this is why we in ARE have this saying that we want community-rooted, anti-racist educators that are dedicated to long-term teaching. That's like our creed here. And we are getting intentional educators that maybe know that aunt or uncle, maybe know that grandma, maybe know that parent that are homegrown in our backyard. And I will say that ARE, we want to be called dream makers because a lot of our candidates came into us saying that, I never thought about becoming a teacher, but y'all provided a pathway, a clear pathway, debt-free into certification. And y'all gave me this dream to believe. So what if we have those same individuals give these students dreams too? Because I feel that's why the violence is here with mental health. If students do not have dreams, they feel like their lives are disposable. So what I want to be clear about, ARE is not, we're not out here singing and dancing. We're not anybody museum of all the people of color we have. We're doing some change in the community. We are change agents. And I feel like there are other folks right here in the work that Brother DeAndre's doing, the leadership under Sister Dr. Rosie, Sister Dr. Shantae. There's so many folks that are doing so much good work. I feel like if we can just expand this to other areas in Seattle, like maybe a free Seattle for older folks. I'm not older folks, but for people who are within the zip code. But because ARE, we have folks who just, unfortunately, they didn't have the best experience in K through 12, and we're giving them dreams that this is the experience I wish I have, so they can go back into the schools and they can give that experience to folks where they can come back into the community and serve. So I feel like we got the team. I know my partners at North Seattle. Shout out to Sister Anna Queen for supporting Chris Sullivan. Again, it's not just us; it's a whole team. And I just want to say again, if you don't remember anything, what ARE is doing is dream makers. We hope our candidates go back to the community and put these dreams in our youth where they don't feel indisposable. Like, let's give them something to hope for. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. As you all know, the story told. I want to move further to our program. Thank you all for staying with us. We know we're a little bit over time, but it's all worth it, right? Okay, we still got some energy? Okay, all right. While we're here, of course, to celebrate the accomplishment of our beloved elder, Dr. King, I would also like to acknowledge the leadership and the vision of what is another individual, and that is the late, great, beloved Dr. Samuel B. McKinney. For those of us, there it is, yes. For those of us who may be here for the first time, I just want to share just a brief background. I won't read through the whole script because I want you to do your homework as educators to look up who the late great, and of course we have the Reverend here with us too as well, but I'll say this. Beloved McKinney was a giant among most leaders here in the Northwest. He helped launch the Seattle's first Black-owned bank after local banks restricted loans for African-American communities. He served as the original member of the Seattle's Human Rights Commission, which successfully advocated for passages for the Seattle's first Housing Act. Of course, in 1960, he took part in civil rights demonstrations, not only in Seattle, in Alabama, and Washington, D.C., where he also was the classmate alongside our beloved Dr. Martin Luther King. And coming into Seattle, it was because of him that brought Dr. King to Seattle in 1961, the only city that he visited. So with that, the Seattle Colleges is so honored to have been able to create what is the beloved Reverend McKinney's Scholarship. So we thank the foundation and we thank scholarships. Yet that is only just a significant piece of higher education that we pay homage to McKinney's deep faith and commitment to social justice and equality. This year, as we stated, who the recipients will be for the McKinney Scholarship will be all of the class of ARE. They will be considered our McKinney Scholars this year. So once again, I ask for all of ARE, faculty, staff, students, North, South, Central, please stand and be recognized as we honor each and every one of you. And lastly, as we said, we wanted to go forward with understanding the importance of what is a community hero. Tina, I'm going to ask you to start coming this way as I read a few words. Lastly, we pay homage to what is, and we have a contribution to what is a social justice community hero. Last year, we honored the beloved Seattle Fire Chief Harold Scoggins, Who remembered that honoring? Ooh, it was deep. He inspired us to include what is a community hero, and this is a new part of the program. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that this honoring this year is one that we need to honor. This year, we want to honor the work and the life of the beloved late Dr. Maxine Mills. You know who that is. An educator, an activist, a mentor, the founder of the Evergreen State College for Tacoma. Please come on up. I'm going to have just a moment right now. Tina's going to share a few words. If those of you who were with us at the Faculty and Staff of Color Conference recognize the deep moment we had when we had a chance to really understand the importance of Dr. Mims and what she meant and the foundation she meant to not only community college systems around the state of Washington, but this nation. I want you to share just a few words. We have a video, but I want you to share a few words, and thank you for being here.
Sure, thank you. Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me here today. I just want to say a few words about Auntie Maxine. I knew Maxine for a long, long time. I was a young girl, early college, and she inspired me to finish college. I had just gotten fired from Seafirst Bank, and she said, and I was in hiatus from my bachelor's, and so she said, it's time for you to go back to college, and you are coming to the Evergreen State College in Tacoma. And we're all from Tacoma, and I'm real good friends. My bestie is her daughter-in-law, and her granddaughters are my goddaughters, and so we have this really close kinship, and so she's always been very inspiring to everybody, and those who know her feel blessed that you do. I'm sure she touched you in some way. But she educated, she and her team are responsible for educating 50, hundreds and hundreds of students at the Evergreen State College, and it started in the Hilltop neighborhood where I grew up, and it just seemed fit that I should finish my bachelor's there, right? I started at Washington State University, and I went to the University of Washington, and I never found a home there. And so years later, I did go back to school and finish my bachelor's at the Evergreen State College under Maxine's tutelage, and then went on to finish my master's too. Thanks to Maxine, she has inspired others to go on and finish not just their bachelor's, but their master's and PhDs. And she just contributed so much to this area. She came here in 1953 with her husband, and then she had her children later on. She had 3 children. And one of her sons married my best friend, Pamela, and that's why, and that's how I've known Auntie Maxine all these years, and the group of folks that also grew up with her and alongside her at the Evergreen State College. She also, a lot of people don't know this, but Maxine was a Republican, and a lot of folks back then, she died at 96, October 4th. 2025. And a lot of blacks were Republicans back during that time, but they were left-wing Republicans. And there was a politician, black politician in Eastern Washington who encouraged Maxine to work for the Nixon administration. And you know, she did. When she came back here, she had so much knowledge, she got so much respect. And that's why she is the name who she is today, because she was able to bring blacks together when she came back here and start teaching K through 12, and then went on to the Evergreen State College in Olympia, and then established the one in Tacoma. So I really feel honored, DeAndre, to be able to speak these respectful words about her. And like DeAndre said about Dr. McKinney, if you don't know Maxine Mims, please research her. Thank you.
I'll say one of the most fascinating things about Dr. Mims when I was able to do my own research too as well is to understand the drive and dedication that she had to start her school in a kitchen in her house. Should we tell that story? It started there to say, I'm going to educate by any means necessary. Her mother did the same, and she did the same, and now the founder. So we honor, and thank you so much, Tina, for the words. We have a quick video that we want to just show, and just a few words that she wants to share with us.
what would be a message for the educators of today? Just have joy in the design to make people continue with hope.
Joy and continue with hope. Thank you.
This is the song. This is the song that we used to sing at the end of every event. It talks about we overcoming. Do I see any overcomers out there? I want you to just feel comfortable clapping your hands as we do this song. Is that okay? Is that all right?
We shall overcome.
Oh man, you really feel the message of that song, don't you? This day, it wakes you up. It shakes us out of the daily grind that we live with day in and day out, and it reminds you exactly where the world is today. So we heard some really powerful messages from Tim, from the Congresswoman from Jayapal. We're also feeling that call to action, but through song and through prayer, we're also feeling hope. And also through all the great work that happens every day here at Seattle Colleges, there is that hope for the future. Thank you so much for being here with us today for Seattle College's 52nd annual celebration of the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, before I hand it over to the choir, one last time, I do have a couple of reminders as well as invitations. Today's MLK celebration is also the kickoff to Seattle College's second annual Social Justice Week. And there's a whole list of events where you can continue to learn, continue to take action. The list of events are on the back of your programs, which are on your table right there. And lastly, I want you to stay a little bit. I invite you to stay and enjoy this conversation, continue the conversation with both Tim and DeAndre. I know people here have more to say to those two. There's a lot more to talk about for sure. And so we'll break and recess for a few minutes. Meanwhile, enjoy some refreshments. There are cookies and more coffee in the back of the room. We hope that you have felt inspired today, that as the late Dr. Martin Luther King said, you will make a career of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a better person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in. Please remain in your seats until the choir recesses and enjoy this final song. And on behalf of Seattle Colleges, thank you again for joining us today.
Once again, we just want to say thank you for being with us. Thank you so much. If I can just offer in this time of the year, I'm not here to have a political stance once for, at all, but we understand that there's a changing of the guards in the next couple of days. All I'm asking you to do, no matter where you are and no matter what environment you're in, is be the light. Okay? You don't have to enter any type of environment trying to push a political agenda. Just use the energy that you have inside of you to spread love everywhere. Music is a universal language. Love is a universal energy. So wherever you go, take that moment to inspire someone, pay it forward. If you see something that you could do for someone that they can't do for themselves, that's using your energy. You understand what I'm saying? Don't worry about the forces that are attempting. Just be the light. Because everywhere there's darkness, light immediately takes darkness out of the way. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want to say thank you so much to the community that is actually in what's it called, Arise, our program. I am honored to have someone in our choir that's a part of your organization. It makes me feel good one way or the other that we're making a difference in the community. And so what better way to end the program than to feature, is that all right? Okay. This is his first time singing with us, leading a song, so let's give him a hand. Is that all right?
Happy day. Oh, happy day, yeah. When Jesus walked, when Jesus washed, oh, when Jesus washed, he washed my sins away. I tell you, it was a happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Yeah. When Jesus washed. I tell you, when Jesus washed. Oh, when he washed my sins away. It was a happy day.
He taught me how.
He taught me how to wash, fight and pray. Yeah. I am rejoicing every day. Good Lord, my Lord. Oh, happy day. Oh, a happy day. Oh, a happy day. I tell you, it was a happy day when Jesus came and turned my life around. I tell you, it was a happy day when he took me off of the streets. It was a happy day when he changed my life around for the better. It was. Oh, happy day. It was a 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 happy day. Since he came into my life, he changed my life around. Now I am happy now. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, when Jesus washed. When Jesus washed. Oh, when Jesus washed. He washed my sins away.